to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
You got it with Ebro, Laura, and Rosenberg. Good morning. Today's guest, one of the street legends, man. His name is Big U, man. Good morning, Big U. Thanks for staying awake for us today. I know you're on the West Coast.
Yes, sir.
Now, Big U, let's start with the topic at hand, which is the TV show on FX, Hip Hop Uncovered. There's 2 episodes available right now. You're an executive producer. Shout to Deb Anthony. Who else worked on this with y'all?
As far as like what artists, it was Deb and contributors.
Yeah,
it was as talent. Deb, Haitian Jack, Bimmy, the great Bimmy from New York Supreme Team.
That's right.
And then the legendary D-Town, Detroit Trick.
Woo!
Yes, sir.
Now, did you guys? These are all legends that in one way or another, and that's what the whole TV episode is about. Is kind of the relationship between the streets and the music industry.
Right.
Did you guys? Who came to you guys to put this together? Was this y'all's idea collectively to put this together? How did it happen?
Nah, my man Jimmy Chris, he's a blood Pyru. I'm a Crip, so Jimmy Chris came to me with the idea to shoot a show about managers or about behind the scenes. It started off like bodyguards and then managers behind the scenes. It was right around that time that that Love and Hip Hop was doing good and everybody was looking for some kind of show.
Got it.
To complement that. And so he had got at me about it and I was looking for shows, and so I ended up coming on board. We shot something about 4 years ago. We shot a pilot about 4 years ago. It was denied by everybody in the country until it landed about 2 years ago in a company called Lightbox Hand. And then we set with Lightbox, and everybody was like, we don't know who Big U is. We ain't never heard of Big U. Like, what's up with, who is Big U? And right before Nipsey died, man, about 6 months before Nipsey passed, Lightbox came to the table, and we ended up signing that deal with Lightbox.
So everybody go check it. How many total episodes will there be? There's 2 up right now.
It's 6, but it's 6 altogether, 6 different episodes. But they're showing 2 each Friday for the next 3 Fridays. So you'll really get 3 different showings before it goes to Hulu all the way, and you can stream it on Hulu. So this Friday they're going to be showing part 2 and 3.
Got it. So Big U, I want to give people backstory.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Because the backstory is covered a little bit in Hip Hop Uncovered, and I think for everybody involved and viewers that may go into it, they give you the story of Deb Anthony and Queens and Bimmy and Supreme Team and that whole thing. They give you Trick in Detroit, Haitian Jack's story, which a lot of people have heard the name Haitian Jack. Tupac rapping about him, and just other things going on. But Big U, your story in here starts with how you got involved in the Rollin 60s set, correct?
Yeah. Well, pretty much we tried to tell everybody's backstory on how the question is hip hop, and how did hip hop start? And that's 1979. And then it was 1979 for LA was such a tumultuous year, meaning that with the Crips, that's when Raymond Washington died. Raymond Washington, who created the Crips, died in 1979. The war with the Crips started in 79. I myself got involved in gangs in 1979 in the worst way. And also in 1979, we had more murders between African-American men and boys in 1979 because of the war on the Crips, with the Crips and the Crips on Crips, that it galvanized all LA. So hip-hop and in LA, hip-hop hit at the same time the violence in LA hit with Crippin'. And so, yeah, it was almost like if you was going to Horseman, it was no way you was not going to be involved in gangs.
And so at that time, you was just coming up. You was young. How old were you?
Shit, 12?
12.
I think you're about 12. You're about 12. And you're about 12. And after that is, in 79, after that, 12, 13, you're going to have a gun. Or you're going to get one. You start carrying a gun to school, putting it in their locker. They start raiding the lockers, and you trying to steal your uncles, your auntie, moms, whoever had one, because you had to have it going to school.
And when you look back on that time, right, like now, you and I have talked, and we talk about what was going on with, housing, jobs, what was creating the environment around that, why the hustling, why the drug dealing, why the sets were so important, why so many people were buying drugs, why there was violence, why all of this stuff was happening. When you look back on it right now, can you see why it was happening then and what created the atmosphere?
Yeah, I definitely see it. It's poverty. I was just having this conversation with my homeboy the other day, and I'm finna be on the opposite side of this so-called war on drugs. If drugs and cocaine would have never hit California, the rock cocaine that wouldn't hit, or it wouldn't have hit the East Coast, we would have still been in a bad situation. Crack cocaine did not create a bad situation for inner city use. It was the condition of America. We was excuse lack for a better term, we was in a fucked up situation regardless. Our living conditions were atrocious before crack came. A lot of people's living conditions improved more. But if you go back and you look at the era, if you look at 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, we didn't own houses. The streets were terrible. These houses were terrible. It wasn't no beautiful situation. My mother was still running from trying to find a job. She was still trying to figure out. We were still running from the rent collector, the bill man. We were still learning I was still learning how to turn lights on, electricity, how to get the water cap out. That stuff was happening still way before crack ever came.
So you think the crack thing is a convenient narrative to place the blame on the victims?
Yes. When I think about it and I go back and I play it back in my head, I definitely do. Because if you think about Reconstruction, we came out of slavery, they needed slaves. So they created different laws throughout the South. Black people tried to run from them laws. And California vastly became one of the biggest populations of incarcerated human beings in the world, 250,000, almost at one time. They were incarcerated. That wasn't just about crack. That was about the prison industrial complex.
So in this show that's now Hip Hop Uncovered, and it talks about now you as a young person joining this set, the Rollin 60s. Hip hop became the avenue now to share the stories and monetize the stories that were going on, and that's really what this show is painting the relationship of. Correct?
Right. Yeah, it's showing the relationship of from my perspective and from LA's perspective. It shows how when gangbanging and cripping and our form of crack cocaine went across the country. And the first thing you see that with is Eazy-E. The first time you see Ice-T come to the scene, the West Coast. And Ice-T he came from New York and he eventually moved to LA. But 6 in the morning is talking about the first time a house get raided, how it raids, and they come at 6 in the morning. And why the house is being raided. So our first rendition, our first indictment into hip hop talks about what's happening in LA. And then that thing just so happened to be happening all over the country.
So
Now,
what was your first foray into the music side of things and being behind the music part of it?
1988, 89, Papa LQ, his name was Laquan at the time. He had a gold-selling single, and it was on, it was called The B-Turn. I think it was on Eddie Murphy's movie. And he came to me in the Fox Hill Mall, and we was mobbing, what we called, us about 15 or 20 of us, and the Fox Hill Mall is where we used to hold down. So we used to be there fighting dudes, harassing people, and we might be 15, 20 deep all over the mall. And he came to me one day with a Jerry curl, with a flat top. He was talking about he wanted me to manage him, and that I knew his daddy. And I was like, no, he said I used to work for his daddy. That was the exact words. And I'm like, I ain't never worked for nobody. But then when he told me his daddy was Mr. Green, I was like, okay, I have done work for your daddy if y'all know what I'm talking about. His daddy was a big gangster in the hood. So he was having a bag. So if he had problems, you know what I mean? And so I know his daddy. And I knew his daddy was on his way to federal prison for some shit. And now he was basically telling his son, okay, go get my young one. And, at that time I had just got out of prison No, I just got out of the county jail, 4800. So, and I went out of town. I was going in and out of town, out of Minnesota, getting the bag. So I really didn't need no money. And he came to me and was like, manage me. So I started going to meetings. I went and met. I went to I went to a couple of labels with him. I went to videos. So I was just really learning. I was a student of the game at that time.
But at this point, you're like 17, right?
I was 19, 20.
Okay,
I was 19 or 20. I was like 20.
And you're just making this up as you go along, rolling with
Right.
this young artist, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I had no clue. And when I met Kurupt, 1990. So shortly after that, I met Kurupt. The feds raid Minnesota.
Don't say too much. It's good. Clean.
Yeah.
Keep it clean. Keep it
Yeah.
clean.
And I come on back home. And it's like, woo, shit.
What year did you get back? What year did you come back? What year was that?
Like I said, I was in and out. So after I left there, I went to New Orleans. And then from New Orleans, I couldn't make it stick, so I went to Louisiana. It stuck a little bit. I was getting a little bag out of there. So I was in Baton Rouge. From Baton Rouge, I was in Shreveport, and I was landing a certain spot, meeting certain dudes, and putting the pack down. And then from the soda, I learned not to stay there. So I kind of figured the math out. Don't party where you working at.
Well, yeah, but when did you come back to the music side? You met Kurupt in 1990.
89, 90, I came back to the music side.
You came back to the music side.
Lamont Broomfield, my homeboy, he was more on the music. And he came to me and asked me to help him with this young artist named Kurupt. And I met him, and this dude was phenomenal. We was in the garage in my homeboy Tobin house, and he was like rapping on everything. He had pointed a pair of shoes. He put it in the verse. He rapping the TV. He put it in the camera. And so that's how I really got into it. And it was Kurupt that really was making it strong for me. So then I circled back to Laquan. And at that time, Jay Prince was trying to do a deal with Laquan. Harry O was trying to sign Laquan. And then I think Domino was in the play in some kind of way. So we was doing that. And I think LL had just made that song with the little homie Bobcat from 40s. And they was up Crenshaw. So we was like, all right, let me get involved in this shit. Because my favorite artist at the group at the time was the Ghetto Boys and Ice Cube, because Ice Cube came with the diss song No Vaseline. And we from the west side of LA. So when Ice Cube came with that, that's what I was listening to at that time. And then of course Prince.
You're a big Prince fan. Prince.
Oh hell yeah,
Well, and you spent time in Minnesota.
Yes.
So you knew it. You knew what that was. That was a good time.
Yeah. Hey man, we used to gangbang to R&B shit, man. Come on, mention that.
Well, I always tell people that real gangsters listen to R&B, man. I always tell them that.
We all the oldies, like really, like Mary Wells, Smokey Robinson, the Temperines, the Temptations. All of that was like music that we knew that was our game. And in that funk era, Knee Deep, all of that shit kind of like gave us that it was like we made the music. We used to change the lyrics and make the lyrics fit our diss songs, dissing people, and it went like that.
So you mentioned Harry O, you mentioned Kurupt. You also, it was a controversial time at the time of your relationship with Suge Knight. You guys did
I didn't know Suge.
You didn't know
I didn't know Suge at all. Nah, hell no. Suge was not in the play at all.
And so
Suge,
when did that occur? When did he become a part of the scene?
Never. Suge, I didn't hear Suge name until I left, till I was gone.
Interesting.
That's
but you knew Harry O though. But you knew Harry O.
I knew Harry O's brother, Dave.
Got it.
Dave was Harry O's brother. I don't know who was the oldest, but I knew Dave because we had an incident, and so I knew Dave. But what I'm saying when I was telling people is, Suge wouldn't have happened because he wouldn't have had Kurupt for one. Two, wasn't no Pyrus coming in and out of LA like that. Because Compton is a little ways from LA. And my homeboys and where I was and how I was moving, I was dominating in Hollywood at the time. We was dominating our side. It wasn't just me. our collectively our group was. And if you watch the documentary, ain't nobody gonna say I'm lying. They're gonna tell you every event we pulled up to that event and we showed out. So if Suge Knight would have came and would have been pushing the line that hard at that time, that wouldn't have happened. And I mean, I'm just saying, because I be talking to these youngsters right now today, they be like, no, big homie. I'm like, no, sir, get one of them old dudes my age to say I'm lying. Mm-hmm. That's what you do.
So
that ain't
gonna so there was a period, so that whole, 90s Tupac death row, you were away.
I was gone. I left before the riots. I left 2 months before the LA riots happened.
So you were gone when Kurupt ended up getting signed and the Dog Pound really came together.
Wouldn't have never been with Dog. He wouldn't have never been there. For sure, Kurupt. For sure, they wouldn't have never had Kurupt. Thus, they wouldn't have never got the west side of LA. You got to remember, they was Long Beach and Compton. We was in LA.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's almost like we was in Jersey, y'all in New York.
Right.
And now you coming. You got to come through the dudes that's in Jersey.
And now, there would have never been any business dealings that would have made sense.
It would have been hard. Like we would have had to have an understanding. And my understanding wasn't really at that point yet. I still was fighting with, anger on black people.
Right. When did you when did you return? What year did you come back home? 2004. So I left in 1991.
Wow.
And I don't come back until 2004.
Whew.
So I'm gone all of the 90s.
And in 2004, Big U comes home.
Wait, but real quick, Ebro, isn't that bugged out that you're away, and you're seeing the little homie that you put on and were working with essentially become a star, and you're just reading about it in the magazines and seeing it from behind bars?
Right. Let me tell you how great this dude Kurupt was, bro. Kurupt really didn't owe me nothing. Kurupt didn't owe me shit, right? We met, we chopped it up. I never gave him no money. He never owed me nothing. What Kurupt owed me is one time the homies was going to go do a lick. Kurupt was in the car with him. And I seen him, and I'm talking to the homies before they about to go, kind of like gauging, what their demonstration is. And I see Kurupt in the car. And I'm like, man, ain't you the rapper? And he like, yeah. And I'm like, man, get out the car. What the fuck is you doing? And I pull him out the car. And I tell the homies, go do what y'all gonna do. But I called him my Broomfield. And I said, man, look, the kid, your kid, he trying to, go with the get down. And I sent him back around the corner. So 3 days later, I called him, I'm talking to him. I come back in town. I'm telling him, like, look, man, you gonna be the rapper. You can get them out the hood. You gonna be successful. And that's really kind of start reinforcing our relationship. Because, and so when I go to prison, I'm down for about 3 years. And if we on lockdown in prison, I get a letter. And I had $3,500 on the letter. And I'm like, God damn, somebody sent me, but it only comes with the receipt that lets you know you got some money so you can do a storage draw. And then 4 days later, the pictures come. He don't say nothing but just one word, Kurupt, something he said, and then he had pictures and the money. And that was how me and him reconnected.
Wow.
So he made sure you was taken care of when you was down.
Yeah. Yep. He kept my name in songs when he was rolling with them. He kept it going. Bro, he didn't owe me shit. Like I'm talking about, I had never gave him one dime. I mean, I wasn't really instrumental in doing his career. He didn't owe me shit.
Wow.
He just kept it 100. And then when I came home, that's how I ended up messing with Suge. So you got to remember, right before I get out of prison, I go to the hole. I do 3 years and 9 months straight in California shoot. So that means that's no magazines, there's no phone calls, there's no visits. Only visit I can get is 15-minute visit once a month. I got a 15-minute visit for 3 years and 9 months straight, not in and out, 3 years. So I get out 17 days out of the hole. So I get out to shoot and I go to the main line. I got 17 days and my family is, so that's with 2 visits. And so I have no clue when I parole about music. I don't know who beefing with new. No, I don't know who's nothing.
Right, because you 3 years off the map, basically.
Basically 4 years off the
Oh
map.
yeah, 4 years.
Wow.
And
I have
so,
no clue. No Source magazines. No nothing.
and you were saying, and that's how you ended up doing when you got home in 2004, trying to navigate this new business industry that's going on in LA.
And Kurupt is back with Death Row. And my relationship with Suge starts through Kurupt. And my homeboy Keita Rock.
And then after that period, 2004, were you happy about what you were seeing in LA in the music industry and the young cats and the way things were moving? Were you proud of some of the stories you had seen?
I was proud of LA, but I mean the beef with Suge and Snoop was still there. Like and Suge had been gone. So I got out 2004, January 2004. Suge gets out almost 5 months later. And I'm already at Death Row. You know what I mean? So by the time Suge comes home, I'm at Death Row and everybody's known I'm dealing with Suge. So they just figure when Suge come home, he gonna go back to being the same Suge. He gonna be crazy. So, but we was talking and just my energy and my mentality wasn't that of somebody who was on. I wasn't on the bullshit. You know, Feast Be Allah studied Islam, so it wasn't. It was a difference. And the whole time I was with bro, it was no violence. Like we never got into it with nobody. Never no big fights. Cause I consider myself a common personality at that time for him.
Now, but people didn't. Were you able to keep everyone calm? Because you know, it seemed like there were people who were definitely uncomfortable with you, Suge, and just that relationship.
No, it was the whole city was uncomfortable at first because they expected me to come home and be like this big Crip, and reinforce the Crip side, and that wasn't my mentality because my mentality was more of I had just did 13 years with 13 years in prison with everybody, Crips, Bloods, whatever. Hey, I definitely wanted to come home and then say fuck the years I did with all my brothers, and come home and now I'm gang banging. So it was either I was gonna come home and change the culture, or I was gonna fall and really just being fake. So when I came home, I kept the same relationship. I'm walking the yard with all these dudes. I wasn't finna come home and be in no color shit, no red, blood, Crips, and all that. No, I come from this. I'm gonna always represent that, but I'm gonna represent what's good from it. You understand what I'm saying? And so I wanted my sons to know that gangbanging was bullshit. So I needed it. It was important for them to have people from all walks of life in their life. And then hip hop was the West Coast was still trying to get back on. We had just got through losing Tupac, the Biggie situation. And I want to say Ludacris was on top. What's their name? What's the
What's
two
this?
dudes?
Oh, we talking 04, 05, 06.
04, 05. It was with Ludacris.
Well, 50 Cent, Ludacris.
And the two youngsters from the South.
Outkast?
Outkast and was it Goody Mob? Was Goody Mob on at the
Goody
time?
Mob, sure.
Dirty
04.
Mob. Yeah, it was a lot of people around at that time.
Yeah, and it was like a South movie.
Hove was running shit.
The Clips.
Hove was, and I think it was like only one person from New York. It was kind of like nobody at the time, but Game was holding the West down.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, and then the whole music industry was trying to move away from the West Coast and move away from the East Coast. It was like,
It was going
they
to the
didn't
side.
wanna
That was
bring home
ringtone
music.
rap. That was the ringtone rap, right, Rosenberg?
Yeah, that era.
2000s.
Yeah, it was a bad time for LA and New York right then.
yeah. And they definitely, all the powers that be that run hip hop, even to this day, didn't want, to be responsible for the violence. And I think it was like, it was so much violence, they was moving away from it. So that's when I came home in 2004.
When you look at, some of the great stories of what Top Dog was able to put together, what Nipsey was able to put together, when you look at these stories and hearing you talk about, wanting to take some of the positive aspects of brotherhood and, community that is woven into the origins of gang banging. Are you proud of those stories too when you're looking at them right now?
Which stories?
What Top Dog and TDE are doing, what Nipsey, the legacy he was able to leave. Because it does, when you look at Nipsey's story, it's a very positive legacy.
Yeah, I helped to create that.
And what was that? What was that relationship? How did
From day one, I'm the first. I founded Nipsey.
Wow.
I'm the one that found Nipsey, chose Nipsey, put my money behind Nipsey. When his brother went to prison, he lived with me in my apartment, in my condo in Hawthorne. He recorded on our mics, and I was the first one. All his first videos, I went through his first videos and made sure we wasn't dissing nobody. I made sure there wasn't no songs came out that was gonna be conflicting with LA, with streets of LA. I had built a relationship with Top Dog in the beginning, you know what I mean, because he was the blood coming out, and I was who I am. He was a big name, I was a big name, so I had built a relationship with him. With Top Dog, we did the game tour together, and it was me, because if you don't remember when my kid Nip came out first, it was Bullets Ain't Got No Name. Everything was gang banging. It was the 6-0 shirts and this and that. I set up late nights editing. If you look at all the Nipsey first videos, they say directed by who?
Yeah.
Directed by me. Because I made sure that we didn't diss other gangs. You gotta remember, my kid didn't even want to do songs with other people from other gangs. He wasn't on that page yet.
Wow.
He wasn't on that page yet. You gotta remember, he was what, 18, 19? And the mentality of an 18, 19-year-old was not, I'm messing with other people, especially a street dude. Now, you may have that mentality if you wasn't influenced by gangbangers from like New York, the South, or something like that. But if you was in L.A., and you was 19, you was supposed to be with the shit. I was the one that was reading the books, came out of prison with the mentality like, this is what we need to do. And if you see, you're going to see the influence that, that's my influence. And his first deal.
So to answer my question, then, you are proud. You're very proud.
Oh, no, I'm overwhelmingly proud of Nip, Top Dog, of what we was able to accomplish. And what he accomplished when I left is what people should talk about. Like, because I had already planted the seed and I got out of the music business. People think that we split on an angry tone. No, we didn't split on an angry tone. I left the music and started managing Veen Rains. I started managing Veen Rains, Tiny Lister. I did a couple of movies. I did like 10 movies. And my percentage was already locked in. I didn't need to manage no more. He was signed to my production company. So I was already out the way.
How hard is it for you with the amount of work that you put in to instill the idea of keeping it peace, and how great a job he did with that? How hard was it for you to then see the way that we lost Nipsey?
It was very hard because Nip was a special person to our community. And he had just asked me to come back on and start managing him. And I really, like I said, I wasn't in music. I hadn't really been in music. I was doing Veen Rains, and I was making a lot of money just managing Veen. I'm getting a percentage off every time he signed to do Mission Impossible. My man was getting millions to do Mission Impossible, and imagine what my percentage is. So it was hard. That was devastating, when we lost Nip. Because Nip was a polarizing figure in L.A.
Really?
And then he got me to come back. I flew to New York to be in his first video off the Victory Lap. Rap Niggas. I came out there and we did Rap Niggas, and he got me ready to get back in it. And we was talking. I'm like, man, look, I ain't trying to be in the bullshit, man. He like, Biggie, bro, you know what your role is, huh? You gonna do what the hell you want to do anyway. And we was in the studio, man. I was in the studio recording. We were recording for maybe like 7-8 days straight. He had me on the mic. He wanted me to record over his next mixtape because he was almost finished with Victory Lap. He had about 150 songs. We was trying to determine if he should put a lot of songs with a lot of features on it. So we was together like every day, and I was still doing deals, and I had started looking for OSBS, which is my group, and me and him was talking about that and how you like, man, it's good you ain't taking them in the hood. So my mentality when I got to OSBS was I wanted somebody who could rap about something else and not be on this gang banging shit. And so Nip was like, yeah, bro, I'm gonna get down with him. And I knew he was making his album because he was in album mode. And it was exhilarating to me. So right before he died at our banquet, I gave him an award. And I gave him an award, T.I. award, Wiz Khalifa, and all of them. And I'm the only one to give him an award while he was living and to tell him, that I love him. You know what I mean? So that right there was it makes me feel good because I was able to do that for him and give him something before he died. You know what I mean? While he was living.
The music that we hear about from Nipsey that's still yet to come. I've just obviously there's this record that's on Judas and Black Messiah with him and Jay-Z, and then I've heard some rumors. Are you privy or still working with the family in a way that you know what's coming out?
I don't work with the family at all. Like I don't have no relationship with the family. I have a relationship with his baby mother, his daughter, and his baby mother. But as far as any of that, nah, I don't know what happened with that relationship. Maybe his brother's still bitter about our relationship, or our past. I don't have no clue, bro. To be honest with you. I don't know what that was. But I didn't have no relationship with them in the beginning. I had a relationship with Nip. I have Nip. You know what I mean?
So you don't know anything about the music that's on the way?
Nothing whatsoever. I have no clue. I ain't even looked for it. I felt like it was I don't know, man. I can't tell you. I cannot honestly tell you. I cannot honestly tell you what the situation is. But that's their family and that's how they moving it. You feel me?
Are you still I know you still work in the community, you still out here buying real estate, you still helping with business, you're doing things. Has the positive energy that you are articulating that you was trying to be a part of and what Nipsey was trying to be a part of and teaching young people how to, I guess almost unravel, it feels like, some of the history of these gang relationships and gang banging in LA. How is that going and how do you feel about that?
Man, it's going good. Like over the last, I'm hurt because over the last, I want to say 9 months, man, we had the biggest spike in shootings and murders that we didn't had in I want to say 10 years since I've been home, and we had a lot of young fellas just dying, and we got different kind of beefs. We don't have the red and blood beefs. We got people fighting who have been friends for years, and it's changed. So it ain't like we can go attack it and say, y'all Bloods, y'all Crips stuff. It ain't even that. It's hurt because it's like the same shit with Nip. It's like homies on homies. It's that same. So
is it jealousy? Shit. Is it money? Is it?
Nah, man, it's like these drugs, bro. It's yeah. I'm sorry. I said no. Yes, it's definitely that. But it's inside. You know what I mean? It's exactly what Nip. It's exactly like we seeing a lot of, because I do the gang intervention. We're seeing a lot of infighting now. It ain't Crips and Bloods. It ain't the traditional gangs fight. It's these dudes from the same gangs, and it's like
it's almost just like it's self-hate. It's self-hate. It's frustration, self-hate, lack of love. Those qualities that I'm sure you were able to learn about.
And it's the fucking drugs, man.
And
it's the drugs. It's the drug use. It's this damn ecstasy. They're using this cocaine like they never used before. And I don't want I'm not shitting on no youngsters. I'm just saying what's happening in our community. And I'm not one of the people, I don't dislike youth raps. I don't dislike that. But the things that they doing right now, you know what I mean? It's really got these kids doing shit that they never would have, they never did. I don't know. I can say they never did, but it's not, it's telling down right now. Like, in the last couple of months. It's telling that, and then it's the goddamn COVID,
Right.
and nobody got nowhere to go. Nobody ain't got nothing to do, and you in the house, you still crazy. You can't move around. You know what I mean? It's a different lifestyle.
Do you, when you look back on your journey to get to this point, and you're sharing information with young people, you say you're doing gang intervention, and you know you're still involved in the community and helping young people. I'm sure there's people locked in who have heard your name, you know, maybe seen your story on Hip Hop Uncovered, and you even in this conversation said the gangbanging shit is bullshit. So that even tells us that you know you got wrapped up in some shit as a young person, perpetuated a lifestyle that ultimately ended you up in prison, and now you're seeing other young people in music claiming, you know, you seeing there's a lot of gang banging going on. I'm sure in places you're like, yo, they cripping over there, like they got Bloods over there, like, you know what I'm saying? And we know how it's spread, and it's been around for a long time. Any words of wisdom that an OG in the game like yourself, Big U, can impart on these young people out here, you know, that might help them find a better path?
Look for the way out, man. Easy call. Look for the way out. You can't bottle yourself up for the rest of your life. You got to eventually look for the way out. And if you got kids, then you got to start, some point you got to start living for your family. You got these youngsters start having kids about 19, 18, 19. And then your family should become the most important thing to you. Not the hood, not the reputation, but your family. Because when you leave them, you hurting your family, and you're causing a strife, and that's what happened with me, man. I had to apologize to my kids, and my kids went through a lot. You know what I mean? And my son is incarcerated right now, and I'm taking care of his kids, and now he's looking at like, damn, Pops, you try to keep me from this, and you know, it's kids you gotta understand where you're going. You gotta understand where you're going. It may look like right now at this point that the future don't hold nothing and every day is the same, but you really can't find your way out. You really can't find your way out. There's something else for you. And that's the honest to God truth.
And also, throughout your journey, how many times had you come across, you know, informants working within the community to continue to create the controversies and the atmosphere for more gangbanging, more selling and buying of guns, more selling and buying of drugs? Because, you know, we hear these stories, but you were down there on the front line. So I'm sure, you know, you saw it or saw people who were vulnerable to it, to where, you know, government agencies were working to keep this controversy and this conflict going on.
I'll be honest with you, man. I at a point in my life, it probably would have been, I'd have been locked up already, but I just changed the way I looked. Seeing people that was counterproductive to our community, I think they didn't need a lot of that, man. We were so counterproductive. I mean, it's just far as like the way we thought, the way we talked, the way we moved as a group was counterproductive. And
so it didn't take anybody really to come along and set it off.
Nah, we didn't need no whole lot of COINTEL. I think that was the beginning, and then you got agent provocateurs who make it easy to get guns and make it do, and so, but the mentality is encouraged within us. You know what I mean? And when people join this game, like right now, and I go throughout the country, New York, Atlanta, and it's Crips and blood all over the country. But I tell them all the time, like, dog, where your way out? Like, what's your exit strategy? If you get money, what's the way out? Like, is you buying property? Is you trying to do this? Because I tend not to take nothing from nobody without giving them nothing. Does that make sense? I can't come tell you, live this way, live this, but then what can I give you? Like, I need to be able to give you a road out. And that road out is one, your family, man. Listen, you got kids now. Two, if you got $100,000 right now and you can afford to buy some land or a house right now, why don't you buy it? Because if you don't, these Europeans are going to come back and get it. We no longer in the inner city of LA. You know what I mean? Where I live in my community, there was the Rolling 60s is damn near all white now. You know what I mean? Because
And at the time, you couldn't even get a home loan over there because they had redlining. So it wasn't even like you could buy a house back then.
no, you wasn't buying houses back then. Oh, let me say this to you. And I think me and you talked about this before. I lived in what's considered the 60s. And at the time, the Rollin 60s was, it kind of called us the affluent Crips.
You guys were known as the wealthier Crips.
We
You guys
were
had
known as-
money.
They said we had money, but we still had to go get it. That's yet to be said. So let me say, I bought a house on Arlington on my street. The same house I bought, I paid $558,000. I paid $580,000 for this house. When I was younger, the same house on the same street I grew up on, Arlington, would have been $30,000. It's only about 30-something years later, the same houses on this block that we grew up are going for $580,000. That means that the kids in this community who grew up here will never be able to go out and buy this house. Because they don't do redlining no more, but they do qualification and lending or disqualification and lending. You need to be two families bringing in over $15,000 or close to $9,000 a year to afford to be able to live in these houses.
90,000.
90,000. I'm sorry, to afford to be able to live in these houses. Now, how you gonna do that and have a family and have a kid, a daughter, a son, or have two kids, going to school, paying a car note, and being able to live in the house? You disqualify. So they don't do redlining no more. But they already know the prices of houses that where we live at now. You can't afford it unless you're working for Google. And where are we coming in the next generation? Our kids not. If you in the drug game, you hustling and you gang banging, you don't have a job making $90,000 a year. You have a hustle that's making $90,000 a year, maybe $100,000 a year that only lasts 3 months. Only lasts 3 years. How long do you get to run from the police in your hustle, in your profession? You'll get 3 years. You'll get 3 calendars. How long does it take to pay off a house? 25 to 30 years. So we not gonna be over here in this community. And these are just ways that they're taking our communities back. They don't want to live in the valleys no more because they got to drive from these valleys.
They don't want to commute. They don't want gas. They don't want none of that. They buying electric cars. They want to ride their bike to work.
They want to ride their bike to work, bro. They 5 minutes. In my neighborhood where I live, I'm 10 minutes from Hollywood. I'm 5 minutes from the airport. I'm 10 minutes from downtown LA.
4 blocks from the new stadium where they playing football at.
Right, walking.
What's the name of that stadium they built in Inglewood now?
SoFi.
The Rams stadium. Rams and I don't know who else in the Rams and the Chargers. So people was not a lot of people, but a lot of people got it. But some people was mad when Nipsey got murdered. I started talking about how the destabilization of black communities trying to buy real estate and stay in their community, and there's a big incentive given to police unions and police precincts by these big real estate companies that want to get these people out of these neighborhoods because they want the real estate. And if they can figure out a way to destabilize leadership, community leadership, grassroots organizations, and get people out of there, because they know that those individuals that are living there, as you pointed out, aren't working the jobs that can get them qualified for the loans to buy the houses to keep the property value there. And so they destabilize it so that they can lock the people up, and then they can go in and get the property on the cheap. Right, and they did us the opposite of way of that. They did us with us. It's a difference. So I was the stabilizing force in our community to get people to come in. So our organization developed an option as the support of the police department. In fact, that making the neighborhood safe. So they made the neighborhood safe. They raised the prices of the property. So what they did was, and this
so
is
they
a
priced
fact.
you out. You got priced out.
They priced us out. But let me tell you how they did it. So at what was this? 10 years ago, they started going to all these different families that own these houses. And they started encouraging these families to remodel their houses. So they would go in and get you to remodel your house. And they would give you these 2-tier loans. And they would add them on to the property value of the property. And once you cannot or you miss one payment on your house, they taking it.
That's the predatory loaning. The predatory
lending, yeah, lending to remodel these people's houses, adding bedrooms, refixing their bathrooms, doing the floors, and you got these older families who they were doing these loans with all throughout our community. So every time they got another house, they raised the value of their property up, and that drove the value of the property in our community. So now you got houses that was like I said, there was 30, 40, 50,000. Grandma teen lose her house down the street. They get the house, they remodel. It's already remodeled through the loan. Now they put it up for sale to somebody that they know, or to they put it in the cycle. And this is what devastated our community. That predatory lending to remodel these houses. That shit was devastating. And they had these white boys running around here, and we didn't see it. We did not see it. I watched these people go in and do loans, and in my mind, I'm happy for the people that getting their houses remodeled.
Not realizing that the loan structure is going to change at a certain point, and they're not going to be able to afford the loan.
Man, they was hitting these people with balloon payments and small loans. I mean, the shit was crazy. I mean, because it didn't affect me, because you got people getting their houses done. They charge astronomical prices to do these houses, to remodel these living rooms and these doors and extend their houses, and then they hitting them with a $30,000 balloon payment after 7 months, after a year. Now, where you gonna get $30,000? But they telling them, don't worry about it. You'll be able to refinance the loan and put it on the back end. When they go to refinance the loan, the banks are like, no, you can't refinance at this time. But it's all to play together. It was all to play together. And they didn't refinance none of these people back out of those loans. And what they do, they foreclose on these properties. Or they put liens on the properties. This shit happened all throughout our neighborhood. But we didn't see it. And to be honest with you, that's where we as men failed our community, because these are things at my age I should have been seeing. Mm. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Had I been in the right mind and not went through the bullshit, these are things we should have been able to see. We should have been able to say, okay, wait a minute. Whoa. And so now we get into the term of buy back the neighborhood. Well, we really can't buy back the neighborhood because it's already owned by these banks. And these banks, once they get the property, they sit on the property for 2 years and don't sell it to nobody. So they can continuously, slowly raise the value of the properties in our community.
Big U, ladies and gentlemen. Big U, ladies and gentlemen. Go check that Hip Hop Uncovered. I'm glad you was able to share with us today, man. These conversations, I know they're happening, but, y'all brothers that was there and participated in a lot of the bullshit, getting to the other side so we don't forget what happened is important.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm glad to get here, man. I'm glad to be able to still talk about it. But we still need a lot of work, man. We made strides. And the thing about it is hip-hop is going to have to be the one to do it. Like, our leaders just coming out of hip-hop, the Nipseys, the Rick Ross, the Jay-Z's, the Top Dog, the Big U's, going to have to be the one to lead us into the next way of thinking. You understand what I'm saying? Like, hip-hop blessed us with a lot of powerful people and a lot of influential people. And now we need that to translate into our babies.
Big U, man. Thank you, brother. Good seeing you.
Thank you, Big U.
Thank you.